Your blood was shed for my righteousness, and Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Gigi Show. This is your host, setting in for the one and only founder and visionary Gigi George. So, welcome one and all to this powerful edition of broadcasting live across platforms Facebook, YouTube, and our radio family, Caribbean Power Jam Radio, WFFR SunshineRadio.com, and Praise 592 Radio. I am once again your host, DJ Crane, the matured mixer. And tonight we are now here just not to talk, but to really have some good fun with each other with this conversation. It's a serious one. But before I get into it, I want to bring in the visionary. I hope she can come on in and let folks know that Gigi George, the visionary, is here with us. We are here to educate, elevate, and empower. Tonight's topic is not just easy, but it's difficult. It's necessary. Law enforcement and excessive force, building solutions through awareness, accountability, and community engagement. And so now let's say this clearly. We respect law enforcement. I want to let you know we respect law enforcement and we appreciate those who serve with honor. But we must also hold systems accountable where lives are impacted, because the truth is, justice is not just about law. It's about how the law is applied. You would agree. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome you all to the Gigi Show. And I want to bring in my host, my guest, visionary. Let me see if she's able to come back in to stage. I am definitely filling in for her because she will be in and out. And since she's not available, I want to bring in her co-host, Miss Idris Grosvenor, to come into us tonight and greet us on behalf of Gigi George. Welcome on in to you, Miss Idris Grosvenor.
Thank you, DJ. And it's a pleasure to be here as always. Welcome to all our listeners over here wherever you're joining us from. We thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Idris, I want you to check your sound out, right? But thanks so much for the warm welcome. Check out your sound. I want to make sure folks can hear you clearly, because I know you're passionate about these subjects, and so I want to definitely make sure your sound is good. And let me also ask one of my panelists to come on in and say good night. This is the wonderful Kendra McKee. Kendra, please come on in, and on behalf of Gigi George, welcome in the folks to the Gigi Show.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you're listening from. A warm welcome to you, and thank you guys for tuning in. Please share the live. Please spread the word that Gigi Show is on. We're gonna be having a healthy conversation this afternoon. We'll be bringing lots of information to you, so please stay tuned. Grab some snacks and come on back.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. McKee. Also with us, all the way in Georgetown, Guyana, an advocate, a woman who is a voice in the community, and coming on in tonight to speak to us on issues that are close to her heart, because she was involved in advocating for a family not so long ago. And I want to ask Miss Robin P. Simon to come on in and just embrace us with your presence. Good night to you, Miss Robin P. Simon.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for having me. To all the viewers, all you wonderful people out there, thank you so much for coming in to the show to listen in. We have so much to discuss. Once again, thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing and an honor.
Awesome. Thank you for making yourself available to us. We're going to be having some serious discussion and some fun discussions tonight about solutions, really, not just pointing fingers, but we want to have some solutions. So, but what can be done better? We want to know, what can we do to rebuild trust? How can we protect both civilians and officers? And because I've lived it, both ways. So I come with two roles tonight. I see attorney and MP Dr. Dexter Todd with us. I don't see a face in yet, but I want folks to come on in and say good night before I get into the meat of the conversation. So, Dr. Dexter Todd, if you can hear us, welcome on into the GG Show for the first time on behalf of GG.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure seeing you, Doc. And I know you're busy, so we're not going to try to keep you too long. You know this is a serious conversation. And so,
yes.
As a former law enforcement officer and an investigative professional, I'll tell you that power over people can destroy, but power with people can transform. You guys would agree?
Totally.
Yes,
awesome.
Indeed.
Definitely.
I know we also have some other guests coming on in, and I want to bring them in before. I know everyone is not going to have a chance to do all they want to say in this segment, but let me bring on in Mr. Thomas Jason Anderson to say good night to the people. Welcome in to the first time to the GG Show on behalf of GG George. Welcome to the GG Show.
Hey, thank you so much. Good night, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you all here. And anyone else that I miss? All right, Miss George is up and about. Oh yeah, I do miss one person, and she is an advocate also. We'll talk about her some more, but I just want folks to come on in and say good night to us, and so the folks can know that who we have here as our panelists tonight. On behalf of GG George, welcome into you, Miss Bonita Montague.
A very good evening to you, to the host and the panelists, and to the viewing audience, fellow Guyanese, the visionary behind the program. Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you folks who are viewing, we have the Honorable Dr. Dexter Todd, forensic attorney and member of Parliament. To come, we have Apostle William Harper to come in with us later on, a community activist and former law enforcement officer, Ms. Bonita Montague, a community activist, Ms. Robin P. Simon, investigative strategist, Mr. Thomas Anderson, and a former police officer, Sean Williams, should be joining us shortly. And just to let you all know, we also have other panelists here that are part of the GG Show, Ms. Idris Grosvenor, Miss Kendra McKee, and yours truly, DJ Crane, right here on behalf of GG George. Attorney Ronald Daniels is also here with us, and I want to take this moment to welcome you once again on behalf of our visionary, GG George. So let's start here. If we may. Welcome to you all again in this community policing. Is community policing, is it just a concept or is it on paper? Anyone? Is it just a concept, guys, or is it just on paper? Right? I can take you, Mr. Anderson, on that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, give me the question again. I'm sorry, because I just got in, so I'm just catching up to what you guys were talking about. But give me the question again. Sorry.
Awesome. We're gonna be discussing a lot of things around law enforcement and bringing some resolutions. But the question is community policing, is it working or is it just a concept on paper?
Well, I think it works. It's more than a concept on paper. It can definitely be improved a lot. I think the key is this, to me, most community policing tends to be treated as like an add-on extra to normal policing. And really, when you think about it, it shouldn't be an add-on. It should be the primary job. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's the issue to me, in my opinion.
Awesome. And to you, Attorney Dexter Todd, what does true community policing looks like in your opinion?
I think is what it looks like is the support, the encouragement, and the participation of members of the community in ensuring that they are equally a part of making society and their community safe. I think also it reflects a broader approach to law enforcement, because as we know, the police force has a mandate to serve and to protect. But community builds, I think, the participation allows them to not only build a closer relationship with the organization, as in the police force, but it equally allows various programs or encourages persons to get involved in various programs, which I believe works towards safety and protection. And I think it also builds confidence between the police and the community, because that's where you really have to. That's how you get a lot of the matters crimes solved. You get it firstly by a lot of information. People would voluntarily want to come forward and support solving of crimes. So you can't only look. We have always been advocating that policing must never be a reactive approach. There must never be a reactive approach to policing. But proactive policing will of course, involve you employing certain methods for the detection and the control of crime in society. So I believe it's very important for the community to get involved and to reflect their that level of participation on a more macro standpoint of safety for in the society.
Thank you, guys. I know Miss Bonita Montague kind of saw both sides. She trained police officers. And so let me throw this one at you, Miss Montague. Are officers properly trained to engage the communities? Talk to us about the training, the foundation.
That question, I am not going to be able to accurately state on their training at this moment, because I am not actively a part of the training curricula or platform. But I have given a number of years as a female instructor at the college. And so I can say that the training can prepare our young men and women to be professional policing, but that comes with several layers, such as accountability, such as understanding role play, and it is important that training without accountability equals chaos. And so as much as you want to evaluate the training, of course, there's always room for enhanced training. There are new systems to implement and new policies and so on. So I would always advocate for more training, but not without accountability.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that you served, and so rightly so. You couldn't just let us know about what is happening now, especially in the USA or in Guyana or in other parts of the country. Thank you so much. But I believe that a badge should not just create distance, it should really build connection. And in these days, we're finding that the badge is not doing that kind of connection. Let's talk about structure. And I know that I was expecting one person who served, but let's talk about structure. So what are the standard operating procedures for law enforcement when engaging civilians? Dr. Todd, are you able to expound on that? Because I know that there is a procedure when it comes to arrest, when it comes to reporting, when it's come to preserving evidence. What is you think is a standard operating procedure for enforcement when engaging civilians?
Well, that is, to my mind, that is rooted in law. The police must have, before they effect an arrest, must have reasonable suspicion that a person would have committed a crime or is about to commit a crime. And so, and that can be further broken down. They commit, if the person is suspected to have committed a crime, then the police must be able to evidentially justify that arrest by virtue of the fact that there was a reporter, they have a statement, and they have all the necessary information that really points them to the identity of the person that they are seeking to arrest. The other limb, which is provided for under the laws in Guyana, is an arrest where the person is committing an offense in the face of the law enforcement. They're passing, they're patrolling, the person is committing an offense, they have a right under the law to arrest them. What we have seen in Guyana as a complete misuse and a complete violation of the law is how police effect arrests without any form of arrest warrant. So police are not in Guyana, are not allowed to just march into persons' private homes, effect arrests, effect searches, etc., without a warrant being issued by a court. Now, there is a reason we have that law. The law is there to protect the rights of individuals. Because if you have a system which is promulgated that any police officer is just allowed to barge in and effect an arrest, we're going to have chaos, because you have the right to privacy, you have the right to liberty, etc. All those things will be violating. So the law, even from the framers of the Constitution and the relevant legislations, they envisioned a situation where if you have reasonable suspicion that a person would have committed an offense, then prepare an application, an affidavit, go before a competent court, present that. If the court is satisfied that your application or your affidavit has enough to justify the arrest, then you go right ahead. We don't find that system being used in Guyana at all. And 90% of the times, our citizens of this country in Guyana are not asking and are not preventing the law enforcement officers from entering their homes. They're not preventing them. So they allow them. We have long gone past kicking down doors, jumping into people. Some stories you hear, people are jumping into private land, property. And you see, I have been articulating for some time that one of the problems we have in Guyana, which I believe encourages this problem, is that we have borrowed from the common law, which says that even where evidence is obtained illegally, it is still accepted by the court. It's been a common law position which Guyana had borrowed and still maintains. So we will need legislation which, of course, overrides and put away that type of provision for illegally obtained evidence. So what you find now is that police have a free rein. They go, they jump, they effect arrests, they do searches, they take what they want to take. And then when you raise these issues at the court, well, you didn't have a search warrant, you did not have an arrest warrant, everything you did was illegal. Then the only thing you can do is to formally probably get some form of declaration from the court, from the Constitutional Court, that your rights have been violated. But it does not stop the court, let's say the magistrate court or the high court, from entertaining evidence, because it is not a bar to the admissibility of evidence. So we have the problem in Guyana is complex. So you find that the situations that it's been a free rein with people, but the correct thing will be that there must be reasonable suspicion to effect an arrest. It must be a situation where the offense is being committed in the face of the police. And on the outside of that, there has been the law envisioned that there must be an arrest warrant, which allows the police to effect that arrest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Todd. Recently, we had an incident where someone died in police custody, and I know one of our panelists here had direct involvement with this situation. I want to give her a chance to express to us what transpired and when does force becomes excessive in our opinion? And what is our take on what happened with the last situation that she came involved with there in the Bacchus area? Welcome in once again, Miss Robin P. Simon.
Good evening once again, guys.
Looks like Miss Simon has got some video issues there. Miss Simon, are you able to just do audio instead of video if you can? All right. So I know in Guyana, certain areas internet is an issue. Mr. Todd, Dr. Todd, I know you in the area, you probably are struggling with Wi-Fi. But let me see if Miss Bonita can shed some lights on. Let me see if she's coming back in. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm so sorry about that. We're having some internet issues up here in the countryside. So, could I get your question back again, please? I did not hear you clearly.
I was hoping that you shed some light on what transpired and what's your input on force becoming excessive with folks in custody. What's your take on it? What's your advocacy around the recent incident?
For me, excessive force, for me, I don't think it is needed. And if so, it should be if there is an immediate threat or danger to an officer. Then is when I feel force should be applied. But then again, we have to look at the line drawn. What type of force do we use? Lately, the things that have been happening in Guyana is questionable because we are looking at a whole list of, let me just say this before I go into that story with young Otis Jordan. We are looking at a whole list of Guyanese who were murdered and no justice. We haven't heard back anything. Nothing, no inquest, nothing at all. And for something that has been happening for quite some time, all the way back in the 2000s, and as recent as 2 months ago, and as recent as last month, I don't think that we are missing something. The Guyana Police Force and the members of the force, they're missing something because young Jordan, Otis Jordan, a call was made about him being abusive towards his child mother. He was arrested. Everybody saw. He went into custody, walked in, everything. Parents visited Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Nobody said anything to the mother, except, let me track back, on Saturday, when this young man was seen in the back of the pickup, heading towards the western side of the East Coast. That's going towards Enmore. Nobody knew what was wrong until the mother saw the vehicle, stopped them, and asked them where they took her son. They said to her that he was taken to the hospital because young Otis had food poisoning. So the mother asked the officer at that time who gave him something to eat. And the officer responded by saying he did. She later went to the station, took stuff for him that same Saturday night. Sunday, took breakfast. Monday, the brother was there. Tuesday morning, received a call that her son is in the morgue. Turn up to Cove and John police station, only to find out that he was taken there, dead. Go there and look for him. Now, what do we call that? What do we call that? No justice? Or the minister came out with a statement. We're still waiting from a response from the commander who's stationed at Cove and John. With all of this happening, we still have to look back at Shamar Latif. 13 bullets gunned down. Nothing. And this was in February of this year, February 5th of this year. 13 bullets about his body, including a broken arm, a broken leg, chopped about his body. You know what they said? That he was shooting at the police and they retaliated. All right, let's go a little further. Let's go all the way back to the Lindeners, those 3 young men, Roy Somerset, Shem Roy, Ivan Lewis. Dead, gunned down, same way, nothing. Then let's look at Donna Herod and Donna McLennan and Shaka Blair, Joshua Shafiq. Let's look at UNC Douglas. Let's look at George Bacchus, Colin McGregor, Quindon Bacchus, my very own friend's son. And let's look at our daughter, Adriana Young. All of this, each and every one of these citizens of this beautiful country was gunned down by people who are supposed to serve us and protect us. Guyana is too small of a country for us to have murderers or crazy people running around the Guyana police force. Crazy people who are supposed to be protecting the citizens. We're supposed to have a relationship with police officers in these communities. We're supposed to be friends. You're supposed to come into our communities and have sports activities. We're supposed to be one. But today we are running from the police because of all of these things that are going on, and no one is being held accountable. No one is being held accountable. We cannot have a whole string of murders, people dying in police custody, people dying in the hands of the police. People are being tased. Young Reynolds being tased for opening his phone. Then he was accused of chucking the police officer. So where are we heading? Are we supposed to run to the force or run from the force? Do you have the right to use excessive force whenever you want to, however you want to? When exactly would the line be drawn? When exactly should we really and truly say enough is enough? Because it's just the continuation of things that are happening. It's not only Otis. We have a whole string of names. All the way from 2000 coming right back. 1999 coming right back. Yeah, it's not only Otis.
Idris, no family should have to fight for answers after losing a loved one in custody.
Absolutely not. And one of the pressing questions that I want to ask is the Miranda rights exercised in Guyana, Dr. Todd? Because I mean, I have seen so many social media videos of, police executing arrests. And in all honesty, I've never heard the Miranda right read to any person. So is that enforceable in Guyana or no?
The rights that are enforceable. You see, these rights are basically what I would say embedded in our Constitution. So the rights in relation to what is given to a citizen is the foundation for that is the Constitution. All right. And so once you police is in effecting arrest, making they need to put an allegation. It must be that the person of course has committed or there's some suspicion that they would have committed. They must put an allegation to them and they must give them an opportunity, a caution. We have that embedded in what is called the administrative rules or the judge's rules, which is of course rules which is outlined to assist the police to protect the rights. But again, this goes back to the foundation, which is the Constitution, which a person has certain rights protected there. Um, but I just wanted to say that even though in the in the U.S. and other parts that they may call it the Miranda rights, I think we have a lot of borrowed provisions which is embedded in our Constitution and embedded in our judges' rules, which speaks to a person who is a suspect, how they're to be treated when they're in custody, their rights which are to be protected, etc. But of course, as I said, one of the challenges that we have in Guyana is that many times the courts, it's now the discretion of the court. So even though you have administrative rights or judges' rules, those rules are not embedded in statute. And with that, it guides the judicial officer as to whether to exercise their discretion or not to accept the evidence. There are some situations where, and there are a lot line of case laws which support that even where there has been a breach of the judge's rules, if the court is of the mind that the breach still did not affect the voluntary nature of what was said or what was done, etc., then the evidence is admissible. All right. So I believe because of that level of what you call that leeway, which is given to the state authorities, that it still exists in Guyana, it has not helped us. It has helped to come. It has really compounded a situation in which the police force can do certain things, and that is why they have certainly adopted other methods of not only inflicting injuries, and these are complaints we've been having for years. You back in the days, you find where there's been violence meted out to a person in custody, you can actually see that. All right, the person gets a medical, and then the court says, "No, I'm not going to admit that type of evidence because that person is given." But then there are ways now which clearly they're devised, ways like putting black plastic bags over the suspect's head while they're in custody, ways like turning off the lights when they are in the room, and so that the person who is in custody is not even aware to say, well, okay, I can point out,
Right, can identify who the
right,
perpetrator
all right.
is.
So they are continuing to adopt certain methods which allows them to do certain things.
So it definitely speaks that our constitution definitely need reform. There is no doubt about it.
We need stronger laws. We need stronger laws to be able to protect persons in custody.
Yes, and I know Ms. Benita has been fighting tirelessly here in the United States and even back in Guyana. She's always on the go, fighting, pushing, pressing, for the rights of our citizens. So Ms. Benita, just talk to us a little bit about these fights. We know it's an ongoing battle. And we love and we respect you guys. I know Dr. Todd has been on it. I know you've been on it. I see Miss Simon on the ground all the time. Talk to us a little bit, Benita. Thank you.
Thank you. I want us to take a step back and let us go back to how we raise our children and what values we raise them to have, because it's a discussion that sometimes we miss based on the display of the adults. Those policemen and women are our relatives, are our children, and they are products of our community. And so we've got to look at ourselves as citizens. Are we instilling the values in our sons and daughters, or are we telling them, look, join the police force and make a hustle. I see the officer buy a car in less than a year. I know you could do it. You got good head. Are we doing that, or are we saying this is wrong and this is right? So we've got to start from a place because they're our children. I must state categorically, I love law enforcement. If I had to do it all over again, I'll do it because it's a part of me. Whether it's the Army, whether it's the police force, whether it's Guyana, the United States, or wherever. But I love professional law enforcement. What we've been seeing recently by some bad apples, and I'm saying some, unfortunately, you don't get to see the great officers at all levels because you've got the showcase and the display of the bad apples. Another point I want to address is how we raise our children to treat or to interact with members of the armed forces. The smallest child here in the United States and in many other countries, when they see our servicemen and women, they greet them, thanks for your service. A little gesture, but a big way it goes. But most times, that's not the case. As many parents does, you start telling the young children, if they misbehave, look, come, I can't get to the station, I can get you locked up. And we do these things that instill fear in them, that creates animosity and separation between community, citizens, and the force. So there is accountability that shares across board. So persons are raised, children are raised in some cases to fear the police. Not me want to be a Babylon man, not me. And they're raised to fear. So we've got to change that. And one of the things I would always advocate for at this stage, especially with an economy like Guyana, is for the system to be electronically advanced and computerized. So every time an officer interacts with a member of the public, especially in taking reports, they log into a system, their ID is there, their information is there. So every step of the way you're tracking. And then we move to the system problem, the systemic problem, where we have leaders of the force that are political tools. And so that becomes the next challenge because professionalism sometimes is wrong. Sometimes they're great officers, but they're politically controlled. So they cannot execute as they want because they're in a rock and a hard place. They want their jobs, they want their pensions, and then they're caught in dirty business. So let's not sugarcoat it. So you've got that as a problem. And then you've got a system as a problem that sometimes have two different justices or two different systems based on who it is. One man smoke a spliff or a weed or whatever you call it, and he spends 3 years, and the next man carries, or woman carries a bag or 300 pounds and goes free. And these are the disparities in the system. So there are several layers that has to be addressed. And as we go back to community policing and the roles of community policing, we have to know our roles as citizens, and the police have to respect our roles as citizens, and we have to respect the law enforcement as the authority of the law. And so we have to be able to work hand in hand. What I've seen coming out of the force in many instances is not a credit to the force. It's not a representation of our training and what is correct. So I've said that to say there is a lot of work to be done as it relates
Yeah,
to training, but training without accountability is failure.
definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Benito. Mr. Anderson, thank you for joining us. And I'm so sorry
Thank
that
you.
I was having some struggles at the beginning, but here I am. And you are so welcome. So after having heard everything that was said here about our struggles in Guyana, about the excessive use of force, about the lax laws that governs our constitution and the rights of our citizens and stuff like that, can you shed some light on how it works here in the United States and the struggles that citizens are facing with the same excessive force from law enforcement and all of that? Can you shed some light on that for
Yes,
us?
of course, of course. So
Thank you
thanks
so
again
much.
for having me on, by the way. I really appreciate it. This is a great show, and the
Thank you.
conversation. This is one of the conversations that needs to happen like every day
Yeah.
until something changes, because
Mhm.
this is serious. And here in the
Yeah.
United States, a lot of what you guys are describing in Guyana, we have the same problems here in the United States.
Mhm.
It's not as flagrant. Like we're a lot better at covering it up, I guess, is the best way to put it, right? but we have the similar problems, and one of the things I hear everyone saying is there's an inconsistency in how the law is applied,
Mhm.
right? And that inconsistency in Guyana, similar inconsistencies in the United States. And what I've noticed, the great equalizer, or the thing that helps here in the United States, and I think could help in Guyana, and Miss Montague is the expert in this, right? It is the training, but here's the key. Sometimes certain people, no matter how much you train them, they just aren't intelligent enough to be able to implement the training. Just unfortunately, that is the case. And I don't mean as far as their smarts go. People can be smart, but there's that saying called, emotional intelligence. I think law enforcement individuals have to be like at an expert level when it comes to emotional intelligence. And to me, that takes a person who is well-grounded, highly educated, someone who holds responsibility in their everyday life at a high level, and they do it consistently and they do it all the time. That type of individual, in order to find those people to have as law enforcement, to me, you're going to have to pay a lot more money, like a lot more money. And you're going to have to, as a government, make it a point to target and to recruit some of the most responsible and some of the smartest people within communities to bring into law enforcement. So that way, instead of having a situation where the laws are inconsistent, the courts are inconsistent, everything's inconsistent, well, at least on the ground, you can build a consistency through having individuals in law enforcement who are highly trained, highly intelligent, especially emotionally intelligent, and people who are paid highly as well, like really a triple, quadruple what they're being paid now. And here's the reason, because even here in the United States, we have the FBI, and they're all college educated. They are all highly trained. All of them have a high level of emotional intelligence. They just do. They're recruited out of college this way. They're trained to be this way. And yet, after all that training, after all that education, after getting someone into the FBI who is just high moral character, someone that everyone can look up to, what they do then is pay them pennies. It's like, okay, how are you going to pay an FBI agent who's stationed in New York City and has to live in New York City $80,000 a year? They can't live off of that. They're going to be living in poverty in New York City with that amount of money. And yet that's what's happening. And so when that happens, that's what opens the door to corruption. That's what opens the door to inconsistencies, right? Because you have a situation where here's this individual or individuals who have put the training in, they've put the work in, they're risking their lives every single day. They have high standards. They're getting paid pennies. And then the criminals they're going after are mega wealthy sometimes.
Yep.
And so what happens is over time, that will break the law enforcement individuals down. to the point where they're now exposed to or susceptible to the type of corruption that we suffer with all over our country in America, and the type of corruption that happens in Guyana as well. So I think, to me, yes, training is important, everything's important, but I think the key here is everyone should understand that, you know, when it comes to law enforcement, the most important thing are the human beings, not just the people who are in the community, the civilians, but the people who are in uniform. You have to get people who are really good human beings. And when the lights are off or when no one's looking, they always do the right thing, regardless of what their supervisors are saying, regardless of what's happening in the courts, regardless of all the inconsistencies. If you build a police force with excellent individuals, excellent people, upstanding people who are highly paid and who are highly respected, they will be the front line in eliminating the inconsistencies we have here in the United States and also the inconsistencies in Guyana. And I think if you start there and you get that done, then everything else will fall into place, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Thank you. If possible, I just want to jump in here. Host?
Go right ahead, Ms. Bonito. Because I was going to ask about them being trained in mental health and behavior health and substance use as part of training, if that is incorporated in the training now. But I guess you could.
Yeah, it has always been. They've always had a psychological component to the training over the years. I know there have been more emphasis placed on psychosocial support, but psychological well-being is not something that the entire country and culture embraced in a manner that it should. So you have, for example, investigators repeatedly visit crime scenes post-mortem. They take the bodies and so on. Are you sitting to ask them, are you okay? How are you feeling? Are they seeing a specialist at that point? So you have those issues. But I want to go back to something that our dear brother Anderson said. And he spoke about how police can be broken. And this is no excuse for bad behavior, because I've served in several units, including in immigration, where at the time we wrote passports and you could have written with your hands 100. And not one day have I ever, or anyone can point a finger of corruption to me. And I've left the force and I've watched many officers at different levels, junior levels, senior levels, do the same thing. And so I know for sure that they're good ones. But let me talk about breaking the law, men. There are times when, as instructors, you train, you put out a great batch, great potentials. Everybody is ready. They're motivated to go out there. And they get out in the field. And sometimes we have two scenarios. Let's say they make an arrest and they take that person in for a serious crime or on a serious accusation. And the first thing happens, they get a call. Is who bringing them on there? Is you? It's commission on the phone. Let him on go. Just let him go. Or sometimes it's a senior officer. You as the junior rank, you're broken because sometimes you've witnessed the crime. Sometimes this person, while arresting them, have even assaulted you. And here it is, let him go. And so you don't have a problem sometimes releasing persons, what we call in their own recognizance, with a warning and so on. But sometimes the manner in which it's delivered, the next time you're looking in a different direction because you're thinking, and in many instances it happens. If I bring the man in, somebody can either take pay and we talking Guyana, or they can just call me and release. So now that policemen and women start to devalue their contribution to the force. And then we have a problem really on our hands at that point. So so sometimes our senior officers are contributing factors to the main problems we have on the ground by being complicit. Sometimes it's somebody bigger than them call them, so they call the rank and they lose the prisoner. And we've seen it in rapes.
Absolutely true.
We've seen it in murders. We've seen it
Yeah.
in drunk driving. We see it
Yep.
in manslaughter accusation. In every charge or every offense or alleged offenses, I've seen that. And so that is a major problem breaking our ranks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's a good time to bring in Attorney Ronald Daniels to speak on this issue. Welcome into you, Attorney Ronald J. Daniels, to GG Show.
Good evening. Thank you ever so much for the warm welcome. And
Yes.
it's my absolute pleasure to be here with such a spirited and informed panel.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat right away, Mr. Daniels.
Certainly.
What should folks do if someone is deceased in police custody? What's the first steps folks ought to do if someone is pronounced dead while in police custody?
Accountability is absolutely important. And folks certainly should follow up with the relevant authorities to ensure that there is going to be an investigation and there is going to be preferably an independent and fair investigation. I know during the Adriana Young situation, for instance, the Attorney General was commenting that, we should repose confidence in the police investigators. But the Police Complaints Authority itself has, scared the police officers for investigating themselves and for investigating themselves at a standard that is way below par. So while we do not want to absolutely take away that investigative component from the police, right, we want to supplement that police investigation with independent investigations to ensure that there's accountability, to ensure that there is fairness in those circumstances. When somebody dies in police custody, right, the family, they have no authority per se. They can't just conduct an investigation themselves, right? They have to liaise with the relevant authorities. In the instance with the young man who was recently buried, both Dr. Todd and Robin would indicate that our first order of protocol was to engage the commander to get a sense as to what is being done, and also to call for a robust and independent investigation and to keep abreast of what is being done every step of the way. And one of the layers of accountability in those circumstances is to ensure that you're keeping the stakeholders notified as to what is going on. You ensure that there's some public pressure, right, so that they would be motivated to not allow the investigation to go by the wayside. Yes.
That's awesome. And so you guys, I wonder where my colleague Ms. McKee went to. Mr. Daniels, I'm gonna still keep you right there. So tell us some more about filing complaints against officer and safely recording incidents and reporting anonymously.
Well, anonymity is not a concept, or is not a notion, or is not a practice that is observed in Guyana. There's always somebody who is likely to disclose your identity to somebody else. So persons are invariably afraid to make anonymous complaints. And even if someone makes an anonymous complaint, it's difficult to get the wheels in motion for investigations because there must be a complainant on file. In the instance of police impropriety, police excesses, the relevant authorities would be the Police Complaint Authority and the Office of Professional Responsibility. Now, the Police Complaints Authority, the head of the Police Complaints Authority has complained over the years. As a matter of fact, I've had occasion to sit and interact with him, and he has lamented to me, he lamented publicly that he does not get the cooperation that is required to ensure that the investigations are carried out efficiently and effectively, that the police oftentimes frustrate the process. So the advocacy should be for, more or less some independence, greater independence and leverage in the Police Complaints Authority. And the Office of Professional Responsibility, the investigations there are compounded by the fact that you have police investigating police. With the Police Complaints Authority, you don't have that. Right, you don't have that at the level of the head of the Police Complaints Authority, who himself is not a police officer. But for the Office of Professional Responsibility, you have the head of the office is a police officer. So there's always going to be that perception, especially when the outcome is a doubtful outcome in the face of the circumstances that the investigation has been compromised. Right, so we have to advocate for layers of protection in terms of making these investigations not only robust, but taken out of the hands of those who are traditionally conducting these investigations.
I appreciate your contribution to that. Ms. McKee, welcome back. I know you got some questions for our panelists.
Yes. So firstly, good evening, everyone again. Thank you guys for joining us. I know you guys have a busy schedule. You've been toiling for us. I see you guys every day doing your thing, and thank you for standing up for the people. Miss Montague, I'll have a question for you. Our headline for this afternoon was in the line of duty. When is it necessary to consider excessive force? And so in my mind, right, I know that there's supposed to be an SOP, a standard operation procedure. And there are cases where I've seen where the officer may have provoked a situation. Is there an outline? Like, are they supposed to de-escalate? Are they supposed to try other means before even getting to aggressive means, like to excessive of like pulling taser and using guns and these kinds of things? Is that outlined for them in their training?
Yes, there's something called the standing orders, and there is also the police operating procedures. So there are frameworks inside, and then you have the laws. And so you have the powers of arrest and when you may fire, the firing orders. And so I hear people saying, in recent time, I am going to, just one moment, please. I'm going to give a warning, shot in the air, and shoot. Some people say shoot it in the foot. The firing orders don't say that at all. It don't say that. But coming back to your question per se, there are guidelines. You start with minimum force. The objective is to subdue without injuries, and to take into custody without incident. That's the goal. So when I was training, I was taught that an offense is not committed against the police, it's committed against the state. And so professionalism is always required. And so sometimes you see some heinous crimes committed or alleged crimes have been committed and persons have been accused of them. And you feel that pain or anguish, but you must apply professionalism always. And so you go to make an arrest, and you must execute by touching to execute an arrest. You touch the person. You tell them why they're being arrested and the offense and so on. Some of the arrests I've seen on social media in recent time has lacked that, and there is no way to cut that
Definitely.
or to sugarcoat it. And that is one problem that we have to address. And so, um, arresting arresting someone, they're handcuffed or in a vehicle, and then you're kicking them, you're stamping them. I mean, that is totally unnecessary, uncalled for, and can be deemed criminal if you're found liable in a court of law. So it's minimum force to subdue someone. That's what is required, and not maximum. So you don't start from tasing someone, you're going in arrest, and everybody draw a gun and they're going in. You know, a man right on the sidewalk, and you go in with big guns. It doesn't warrant that. So you've got to match the offense and the arrest. Now the police must be protected, and I've always advocated for police to be armed, and every police to be armed, because there are times when a police may have a traffic stop, and maybe that police observe the vehicle going in a zigzag manner. And sometimes it's a driver that may be having a bad day, or we just don't like police. And so from the time you pull, will you stop me for? And especially if the police look frail. And so if you was a police like me now, you do martial arts. I taught martial arts in the college. So those kinds of things that you see a lot of police get outside, I was never touched. But I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, you have. I have a question for Dr. Todd, and I think also I would like to ask Mr. Daniels also to also shed some light. These situations, I'll say situations, where it is seemingly possible that the law or the police force, let me say the police force, acted out of accordance, excessive force where it was not necessary or not warranted. Are there any provisions in the law, in our constitution, that we can hold them culpable for? Because I have been looking, and I know it may not be hard and fast, and it's no straightforward case, but are there laws that we can hold them accountable to, that they should be able to face the consequences for their actions if they are not justifiable?
Thank you so much for that question. I want to, on the onset, say that excessive force is unlawful.
Okay.
There is no provision in law for excessive force. A policeman or woman effecting arrest is allowed and covered under the law to only apply the force which is necessary to effect that arrest. Now, by the definition of law, an arrest is really the physical touching of someone. All right? So you will have to physically touch. But let's say if that person has not retaliated or is not preventing a lawful arrest, then there ought to have been no further application of force, which is meted out to that person. Now, I'm going back to our supreme law, which is our Constitution, which outrightly says that every person has a right against any form of inhumane treatment, etc. Now that is the bedrock in which we can stand on. Now, if the person is there is excessive force used, mean they were treated in such the demoralizing manner and unlawful manner, an action can be brought. If the person is assaulted with injuries, there is criminal charges which can come against the policeman or woman if who had effected that arrest, because they're not covered under the law to do that. And then if you want to go down the line of a civil action, you can bring that against the state, of course, which would be the Attorney General, which of course represents the organization, the state organizations in this regard, the police force. So you can also bring a civil claim for your personal injuries, because at the end of the day, the state has to come to court to justify the types of injuries, which is evidenced by medicals, etc. Now, what we have been seeing, and I can tell you from both from a policeman's standpoint, as I was a police officer for a number of years, and so I smile when my friend, my sister spoke about writing passports, because I also wrote passports for years, and we do have very good policemen and women remaining in the system. And I'm sure many of them are not proud of some of the complaints which are daily peddled against their fellow members of the force. So one of the problems we have, and this is more from a practical standpoint, one of the problems we have is the issue of being able to establish the case, the person who is bringing the case. So and that is why for over 3 years there's been high promulgation that arrests be recorded, so that persons where you are finding that the persons are effecting, or police are effecting of arrest, you record it. I mean, it's a policy that they have their body cams. But there are instances where they're turning off their body cams and then coming to court. My brother Daniels will bear me out that they're saying that the battery died and so on, and doing all things. So sometimes it becomes a battle of your word against my word, and then the police have been around for years, so they know how to craft the story and to make it appear, because they always come to say, well, then the person retaliated and the person attempted to disarm them, or that the person was doing something, and they try to justify. Now, usually an arrest is done, and then there are other members of the force that sometimes come to support that line of, or that narrative, as many will say. And so sometimes the challenge is many persons are not sometimes encouraged to follow through. Listen, I am going to be most frank with you. I've had clients in the past. They have had good cases. But because of the fact that they were so frustrated about the system and sometimes having to find the evidence or somebody to support their side of the story, they're saying, listen to me, like, we can't fight against a big organization. But I've been saying, don't take that approach. One is too much. So if the more you take it to the lens and really pursuing these matters, there of course is going to be some form of lesson. But ultimately, no force, which is excessive, is permissible under the laws. Nothing.
I'll tell you, Ben, the folks are chatting a whole lot on Facebook, and I'm sure there's some there on YouTube. But I definitely want to get these questions out of the way from these esteemed gentlemen, because I know Mr. Daniels and Mr. Anderson can tell us some things about what protection exists for whistleblowers. So we can segue to that within law enforcement. What happens when officers are complicit, if we can deal with that?
Well, here in the United States, and I've seen this also in Guyana, some people, I've seen stories of it. I haven't been on the ground and seen it myself personally, but I think one of the big problems that we run into here, and listening to everyone speak tonight, I think in my mind, I'm sort of drawing a distinction between ground level corruption of police officers on the street and what they're doing physically with people who are being arrested, and then there's this administrative level of law enforcement that's different from the ground level. And what's happening is it's almost like the administrative level is creating an atmosphere to force the ground level police to sort of wing it, to kind of make it up as they go along, because they're not really sure how the administrative level is going to be handling certain issues that they're dealing with on the street level, on the ground. And what I found here in the United States is when that administrative level becomes a problem, I won't even say that it's corrupt, because sometimes the administrative level is incompetent, or they or they're just out of pocket when it comes to being connected to the community, right? When that level, the administrative level, gets messed up and becomes an issue, that then spreads not only down to the street level and to the citizens who are feeling the heat from the police, who are not really sure how to handle things, but then it also goes up into the political level. So when the administrative level gets messed up, the political level starts to step in. The politicians, the elected officials, they step in because there's a void, because the public is saying, hey, we're not getting justice. The police are saying we're trying our best, but then the administrative level is kind of just covering it up. So now the politicians have to get involved, and they have to start, getting engaged with some of these issues that are coming up, like the ones we're talking about tonight. And when the politicians get involved, they bring in a totally different level of dysfunction to the situation, because now they're thinking about re-election, they're thinking about constituents, they're thinking about the people who are the power players in their country, who are really moving the pieces around. And so the politicians now are compounding the situation. And what I've noticed here is when you get that administrative level problem with the political problem combined, and they get that dysfunction going, what that creates is a situation where the police on the ground understand that the system itself that they're working in does not have their back. They know it. And so not only are they risking their life publicly out there dealing with the general public, but on top of that, while they're risking their lives, they know in the back of their head that they don't really have the support they need from the administrative level or the political level for them to be able to do their jobs properly and in a safe way where they can come home at night. And so that administrative level is such a problem here in the United States and everywhere that I think we have to start looking at law enforcement sort of in a way of, yeah, we have the police on the ground, but we have to start looking at the administrative level a little bit different. And we have to start applying new standards to them, because if that isn't fixed, and if the administrative level of things, if they're feeling like they can get away with anything, they can be lazy, they can do a half-ass job, sorry for the language, they can do whatever they want and they never get in trouble, well, then you're never going to fix the system. Those administrators are going to constantly, whatever you try to fix, whether it's below or above them, they will be in the middle and they will wreck shop. They will make everything fall apart. And the problem is, since they're not on the ground, they're not where none of the public see these people. So they're basically in the shadows. So there's really no accountability for these administrative people. There's a lack of accountability. And this whole, what I'm describing now, it creates a toxic situation where no one can figure out, well, how do we fix this? We see the problems and we're trying so many things, but how do we fix this? And it's that administrative level that's the problem. And I think Mrs. Bonita Montague can speak better on this, because she's been on the administrative level with the training. But I just don't see in our country in America or other places around the world real transparency and accountability coming to that level of law enforcement, so that they know eyes are on them. They know people are watching every decision they make. That doesn't happen now. The way they operate now is they feel like, well, I can do whatever I want. And if anyone questions it at the administrative level, I can rig up the paperwork certain ways. I can do certain things so that I can't be touched. Right.
So,
And
Ronald,
yeah.
Ronald, can you speak to us a little bit about the whistleblower situation in Guyana? I am reading a comment where people are talking about George Bacchus, who was once a whistleblower, and we know what happened to George Bacchus. So can you tell us a little bit of how the whistleblower situation in Guyana works, legally, that is?
Oh, most certainly. It's not radically different from what Ms. Anderson has described in the US.
Mm-hmm.
We have the 2018 whistleblower legislation, which has not been fully operationalized because we do not have the Protected Disclosure Commission, which is the administrative body that has oversight over the proper functioning of that legislation. And there's no incentive, of course, to operationalize the commission because the status quo, of course, serves those who benefit from it. And quite unfortunately, those who benefit from it are very powerful people who would not want to upset the status quo. And I'll give you a radically real example. Just a couple of days ago, I was having a conversation with a police officer who said to me that another police officer has quite a reputation of employing rather unconventional methods in the arrest, the detention, and the securing of convictions, the securing of confession and other information from suspects. And the police officer says to me that everybody knows this. And there are other officers, who have large complaints, some openly and some anonymously. But the disposition of the powers that be is that this is the officer who could go into certain communities and ruffle the feathers that we want ruffled. So there's no incentive, right, to discipline that officer. There's no incentive to curb the attitude of that officer and the practices of that officer. And that is just one of a number of officers. And that is just one of a number of institutions. We have other institutions like the Guyana Revenue Authority, which in its internal structure, they have whistleblower provisions as well. But how many persons in institutions where there are whistleblower provisions would try to avail themselves of those facilities? They understand that we live in a society where information is not guarded jealously. It's not guarded at all, let alone jealously. So you take a risk that can impair you financially, a risk that can impair, a risk that can result in injuries to you, and a risk that can ultimately result in your demise. And there is no protection against any of those layers of risk. So nobody's incentivized in these circumstances. And going back to what Mr. Anderson has said, we need robust administration. And that has to be underscored by the resources that would offer persons the level of protection that they need. And to the extent of relocation, change of identities, and all of these different things. If we're serious about the reforms that we give lip service to.
I have a question also for you, Mr. Daniels, and then I will ask Mr. Anderson if he can also shed some light on this question for me. In the organization of the arms of government, right? We know the executive, the legislature, judicial, whatever, right? Each arm has their own function. Is there something written in law, and I'm speaking to both US and as well as Guyana, that if you break the law, whether or not you are in any of these functions, whether you're in an executive branch, whether you're in a judicial branch, or whether you're in the legislative branch, that you are held culpable according to law, that if you break this law or break any law, that you're taken to court and charged.
So I
Yes,
can say on
you
the sorry,
Oh,
go ahead,
no,
Mr. Daniels. Okay. Well, I can say on the U.S. end, right? So we have something called, for the federal level, something called the Inspector General position.
Mhm.
And so for every single agency on the federal level, we have an Inspector General. And that Inspector General has a staff, and their job is to police that part of the federal system. So in the Justice Department, that's a specific branch of our federal government. We have an Inspector General for the Justice Department.
Mm.
And if you have a problem with someone all the way up to the Attorney General level, the highest in our Justice Department, you can go to the Inspector General and file a complaint, and they do an independent investigation, and they are not a part of the Justice Department, even though they officially are on paper. They are separate. The Attorney General can't go into them and tell them what to do or what to say. They will do the investigation, and they are allowed to come in and implement. They can't arrest these people in government, but they can find them. They can get them out of the job. All kinds of things can happen. So we have that on the Inspector General level.
Okay.
But then what we also have, and this is something big here in the United States, and Guyana may benefit from this. Okay. So we have, like, it's not called a whistleblower program, but basically if you are a citizen and you see, let's say you're working for a firm, and you see that this company is stealing people's pension money, and you do your calculation as an employee, and you're like, whoa, they've stolen, millions of dollars here of pension money. Well, you can go to different federal agencies, and you can, with that evidence, present that evidence. And if an investigation ensues and something is found and it is disclosed, yeah, we discovered millions of dollars were stolen, the person who came in at first to give the tip, they get a percentage up to 30% of whatever was found, right? So there's a monetary benefit here in America for people that are in positions of power, that are seeing things that are wrong. They can actually report it and get paid off of it. There's a group of engineers, some NASA engineers, and NASA is our space program, and they came across billions of dollars of fraud. They reported it as a group, and they ended up as a group getting over $100 million to split between each other, 5 of them, because of the fraud that they had reported. So there are various different levels that we have here to bring accountability, not only just through the criminal justice system, but also through the civil system. And there's another thing we have called a qui tam lawsuit. And that's a lawsuit where if you're a regular citizen in the United States and you see fraud of any kind anywhere, you can file a lawsuit in the state that you live in against a government entity, against a private corporation. And when these lawsuits are filed and you're claiming, hey, this is fraud, and I want to sue these people for it, it's placed under seal, so the public never sees it. And what happens is as the case goes along, if the federal government or the state government sees that, whoa, this is legitimate, then the government will come in, they will take over the lawsuit from the citizen, and they will go, and then the case will be unsealed. It will be publicly an indictment, and the federal government or the state government will be going after those people, and they will do the entire case. The government pay for it all, get the prosecution done. And when it's over, if any monies were caught being stolen, the person who brought in the lawsuit in the beginning, once again, you get 30% of whatever was gotten. So we have multiple ways here to bring accountability. That's sort of my magic realm of things. I work in this area a lot, the accountability area, working with people who are going with qui tam lawsuits, whistleblowers, et cetera, et cetera. That's something that Guyana may want to look into, trying to build a more robust system that has several different layers for regular citizens and other people, even police, people within government, to have access to bring to authorities potential crime and have it done in a way where it's hidden so no one knows that it's happening. And if something comes from it, the people who initially came get rewarded when people do find out, right? So that might be something that Guyana might want to look at.
Mr. Daniels? Yes, I know you can't match that, but
we are certainly not.
Let's hear what we're working with.
We are certainly not incentivizing anybody to that extent, if at all. So we have different layers of, I'm not sure if I should say different layers of protection, perhaps different layers of accountability. The effectiveness of those different layers is what properly warrants interrogation. So matching what obtains at the federal level in the US, we have the Office of the Ombudsman, which investigates complaints of government maladministration. And the Office of the Ombudsman seems to be relatively effective. I'm not sure that its reports, though laid over in Parliament, whenever the officer is called upon to report, I'm not sure that that receives wider publication or whether there is public education about what the Office of the Ombudsman is doing. Between 2017 to 2020, there's been in excess of 80 complaints, and there's been in excess of 30 of those complaints resolved, which gives the impression that the Office of the Ombudsman is doing its work. We have the Integrity Commission, which of course interrogates matters of corruption, false declaration, and these things. And well, what we see obtaining in Guyana would give the impression that the Integrity Commission is not functioning optimally, because we have so many instances of inexplicable wealth at the highest level of government, and there is no one who is held accountable. There's no one who is called in to, give an account as to how you obtain that obscene wealth, and in such a relatively short period of time. And at the ministerial level, in terms of the permanent secretaries and other staff members, they're accountable at the level of the ministers. How effective that chain of accountability is it's an open question mark there, because oftentimes you have accusations at the level of the minister, and accusations which are not interrogated, and even if there is noise about those accusations, nothing comes out of it. And if there's a public perception which is fed into by the conduct of these ministers and these respective office holders that there is no accountability, then one can only assume that there is no accountability going down that chain if there's none at the top of that chain. We have as well the criminal justice system, which of course, if there is any credible allegations of criminal practice, these properly should be brought before the court and properly should be interrogated through that process, through the legitimate due process. Now, we've had instances where persons have been brought before the court in seemingly credible information, and those matters have been withdrawn and discontinued, which naturally leaves some doubt in the public's mind, and it whittles away that public confidence in the administration of justice. So to sum it up, though we have these different layers of accountability, the effectiveness of these different layers leaves much to be desired, to put it modestly.
Yes. And which brings me to the question that I'd like to ask Miss Simon. Miss Simon, are you still with us? Yes, Miss Simon. Hearing all of this makes me now try to picture what these families are going through. And I know you have been having a lot of one-on-one contact. Can you shed some light on whether they're pursuing any form of justice or seeking any resolution to these issues? What is happening to we have Mr. Quindon Bacchus, whose son is left there, that young boy who's just about 2 or 3, a toddler, left to grow by himself. What provisions are in place? Are we getting anything from the state? What are they doing to them? What are they saying to them? What is going on? Can you shed some light on that for us? You're muted. You're muted, Miss Simon.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Aside from the lawsuit that was filed by the mother against the state has said nothing to Juanette, neither Julius. Nothing was put in place for them. At one time, what we do know is that the government was trying to appeal the decision given
Simon,
by
some internet. Is
You're not hearing me?
She's going in and out, Miss Simon. Yes.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Good. What I was saying is that aside from the lawsuit that was filed against I think it was the state, or against the police force by the mother of Quindon Bacchus, nothing else is being said to that family. Wow. No one called the family. Nothing was said to the mother. So her son is there, buried in Golden Grove, without justice. It is not easy for her, I can tell you. It is not easy for the father. I can tell you that as well. But life goes on. All right. Then we have this recent killing of Otis. Otis's mother, she is still, I do not know how to explain because I am not in that situation, but I know she's going through a tough time. No mother wants to bury their child or their children. So she is going through a tough time, but everything has a process in Guyana. She's represented by our own Mr. Daniels and Dr. Todd. So they will be able to shine some light on that, the way forward, where that is concerned. But I know Amanda is currently not in a right place. And there is nothing we can say to her that will actually allow her to be comfortable in a time like this. All right. But then I also want to look at a case that was brought to the world by one of the news agencies, and the mother reached out to me, which is young Shamar Latif. His mother, I did an interview with her. 13 bullets, I just spoke about it. 13 bullets about his body. In front of his body, under his arm, nothing behind his back. Nowhere. His back, at the back of his hips, nowhere. All the bullets were in front and 2 under the arm. Chopped and all of that. The mother for that young man is also grieving for her son. She is in pain for her son. Agony. She's remembering all of the times she spent with him, the videos he would have recorded in the new room or in the house, everything. She is constantly going back and forth, looking at her son, the way in which he was murdered, the way in which he was gunned down. And these are the things we are faced with in this country, because you're going to these parents, you're going to these families, and there is nothing you can say to them or do for them. And I want to bring this case. There was a young man, 15 years old, was arrested for murder. And he was beaten. Methylated spirits was thrown on him. All right? And they lit him a fire with a methylated spirit. The case was taken. This police force, they were sued. And they tried to appeal that judgment given by the magistrate. Comrades, I want to tell you all something tonight. I heard Mr. Anderson spoke about fixing the system. It's one thing I'm sure of. With all that is being said here tonight, if there is no accountability, the system will not be fixed. If this government does not stay out of the Guyana police force politically, the system will not be fixed. If we do not unite as a people in this country, those of us who are living in Guyana, if we do not unite as a people and stand up and demand, respect ourselves, demand respect, and hold the government and the Guyana police force and whomever accountable, the system will never be fixed. Because it's always somebody who knows somebody and somebody who knows somebody, and things are being covered up and swept under the rug, and parents are left to cry and mourn their children and their loved ones without justice. So it's not only about these few. Like I said earlier, we have so many persons. We have to now reach out back to these family members, sit with them, visit them, sit with them, talk to them, whatever we have to do. Try to see what we can do as a people to help these families go through whatever, because the government is certainly not doing anything for these families. And when you win the case, they want to appeal the judgment. They want to this, they want to that. So at the end of the day, for me, if the government does not stay away from the Guyana police force politically, things will never be fixed. And as a people, we are accepting it and we are allowing it. And until so, we will continue to have police brutality, police killing, police beating. We will continue to see these things and continue to ask the question, how many more?
Thank you, Ms. Simon.
I empathize with you. I do empathize with you, and thank you so much for the work you're doing on the ground. Folks, there's a lot of comments on the Facebook chat and all elsewhere.
I know.
We can all tackle them, but we can't tackle everything because we want to get these gentlemen out and about tonight. And so I hope we can have a second part 2 of this show. I see folks are asking for that. So folks, I'm not ignoring your comments. Shout out to the folks at Caribbean Power Jam Radio and WFFR, SunshineRadio.com, and Praise 592 Radio. We see your comments. We definitely wish we could get to all of them, man. I'm telling you. And but I have to get these points in. We got like a few more moments to go. Idris, you have a friend of yours on the panel. And
Yes. I want to welcome my friend Ronnie King, who is a retired NYPD officer. I know Ronnie would have witnessed firsthand some of the excessive force that, would have been, at least I would think so, right, Ronnie? So just share with us a little bit. Thank you.
Oh, first of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I hope I can bring some kind of some enlightenment to some of the things that are going on. And again, I can't speak on what's happening in Guyana. However, what I will say is police is police, no matter where you are. And it seems from listening to the panel that our communities are basically having the running into the same problems, be it here or abroad. I know one of the things that we speak about, especially now here in America with the ICE raids and all this other stuff going on, about use of force, excessive force, things of that nature, especially in communities of color. A little bit about my background. Again, I'm a retired lieutenant from the New York City Police Department. I started my career back in 1995. I was in housing in Harlem and worked there for a few years. I was an undercover for a while in Brooklyn. I then got promoted to sergeant, went back to housing in East New York and Crown Heights. And I spent about 2 years in internal affairs. I've also been integrity control officers for the gang division for the New York City Police Department, and I retired out of a crime scene. But let's bring my focus back to when I was actually in internal affairs. A lot of times we use the terms a reasonable force and excessive force interchangeably. For most people, for the layperson, it's one and the same. From a procedural standpoint, is different. So, a reasonable force, if anyone is familiar with the Civilian Complaint Review Board, they are a panel of civilians that were appointed by the mayor, who look into complaints of police, as I'll say, small police misconduct, unreasonable force, maybe pushing or shoving a person when you didn't have to, maybe abuse of authority. It's basically fade complaints. It's unreasonable force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, or ethnic slurs. Calling someone out of their name, stuff. When we speak about police brutality, however, that's where internal affairs gets involved. That is what's called criminal. Those are criminal actions. These are actions such as a handcuff suspect is thrown down a flight of stairs. Maybe a weapon was used to cause injury to a person when no weapon was being used against them, so on and so forth. Um, I know there's a lot of people on one side of the aisle to say, well, if they had just complied, the officer wouldn't have had to do that. And what I'll say is that's not necessarily the case. We do have some police officers who, unfortunately, um, may be having bad days and been having bad days for years, and they want to take it out on the public. We have people who are scared of the communities they serve. They're not necessarily there. There's this us versus them mentality. We're the cops and they're the perpetrators, and so on and so forth. Um, to bring back a little history, and I know a lot of times people don't want to, they want to erase history, they want to whitewash it. But let's go back to history. Let's go back to, um, we could go back as far as the Middle Atlantic Passage, okay, but we won't go back that far. Let's start of how are the police able to come into your community and treat you the way they do? Okay, there's systemic racism. This is a system that was put in place to keep first the poor people, and then once people figured out that, well, hey, if you look like me, you're going to be on my side, so that people who don't look like you, you're better than them. So you're dealing with a unfortunately, it's interwoven into it. It is a system that was put in to keep people in their place. Okay. The other issue that you run into, unfortunately, is police officers feel that they have to back their brother and sister, because if they don't, if they're in trouble, nobody will come to help them, you know. um as a supervisor, and of the 24 years I've done before I retired, 19 of those years I was a supervisor. And what I always told my people was this: you don't have to like anybody, um you don't have to be nice to people, but you do have to be respectful.
Mm.
That's what we need. We need for you to be respectful. We need for you to follow the guidelines that are given, and don't don't mistreat someone because you can. Okay, because that might be your brother, that might be your sister.
Yes.
It may be in a situation that I was fighting with somebody up in Harlem by myself in the stairways. And you know who called? The people who were on the floor. They called the police and they said, this officer is fighting with somebody, he's in trouble. So we want to look at being a police as being a partnership. We're not supposed to be an occupying army, which is what it has turned into. I mentioned I was in housing. So at one point in the New York City Police Department, there were 3 different police departments. There was housing, transit, and NYPD. The housing police, they mostly patrolled the housing developments in New York City. And our relationship with our residents, for the most part, was actually pretty good. There were tenant patrol meetings that we would show up to. If you were having problems with your child, they would say, hey, Officer King, can you speak to my son about X, Y, and Z? And try to get them involved in things. And what happened is, when we had a police commissioner, Bratton, he came from Boston originally, and then he was out in LA, and he came here, and it was all about these quality of life things. It's all about these broken window theories. If you know anything about broken windows theories, it's basically this: if you don't fix a window after it's broken, it will lead to more crime, more disarray. So what did we start doing? Instead of being a partnership, we started giving people summonses for having beers, and for jaywalking, and for this, and for that, and for that. And this was supposed to help with the crime. This was supposed to help with the broken windows theory. Well, what ended up happening was, Bratton liked numbers. And when all of those things were done and the numbers went down, hey, what's going on? So now what are we doing? We're stopping people on the corner. We're doing this. And it's not just the people in plain clothes, it's the narcotics, it's the people in patrol, it's everybody. It's your sons, your daughters that are being stopped. And people get tired of it. And what do? Why are you stopping me? What are you doing this for? And for a professional police officer, the reason I'm stopping you is because I got a description of such and such and such and such and such. Sometimes you may get officers who say, well, I did it because I wanted to, because I felt like it, because you were standing there. Okay. We also want to go back. I started off talking about history. Let's talk about the history of how are you able to dehumanize people? You're able to dehumanize people by calling them out of their names. Instead of referring to a person as, say, a suspect, you refer to him as a mope, as a savage, as a perp. And that's what they are. They aren't a human being. They're a perp. And so it's easier for you to mistreat them because you're taking the human element out of it.
Lieutenant, we got 5 minutes more to go.
That's happening right now is that's what's happening. These people are being labeled as leftist, left-wing protesters, not as human beings.
Panelists, we got to ask
So
Lieutenant
when
to come
things
back.
happen to them, it's easier for people to just say, the shock and awe that's supposed to happen when a human being is being hurt It's
Yeah.
not there anymore.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
Lieutenant
not
is
there
not hearing me.
anymore.
So I got to,
Um,
folks,
what we want to
Idris,
try to
Idris.
do as a community, we want to try to have a partnership, yes, but we need people who are willing, and we have to work with the willing. We have to work with our sons, with our daughters. We have to tell them in no uncertain circumstances, you will 100% be hurt if you do not comply with the I'm getting the message now. We got to close down. Got to close. Yeah, we
That's
definitely
right.
need a
That's
part
right,
two
Lieutenant.
on
You're not
this.
hearing me. You're not hearing me. You're not here. So I wanted
Yeah.
to get in. I wanted to get into the part, Lieutenant, where we can bring in clergy in this because we got to phone them.
Okay.
I know some stations might have
But
to
just in
sign up with
closing,
us.
again, I'm looking at more of the community taking an active role in policing their neighborhoods and going back to being a partner with our law enforcement professionals as
Yeah.
opposed
Thank
to
you so
being
much.
a victim.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
I want to thank Caribbean Power Jam Radio, Sean Sampson, the crew, my folks at WFFR Sunshine Radio and Praise 95, Praise 92 Radio. We got to take our leave at 9:00 because folks gotta get on with other programs. But I wanted to add clergy into this and to see what is the role of clergy and chaplains and faith leaders play in the crisis situation, and can spiritual and emotional intelligence reduce violence in this situation. But we don't have much time to
DJ
dive
Quinn?
into that. And I was hoping that our apostle, yeah.
So I have Gigi is calling in to give her thank yous. This is the host and the CEO of the Gigi Show. Gigi, go ahead. You're live.
Of course.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, good night to each and everyone. This is Gigi, and I want to say a big thank you to each and everyone who have joined us on the show. I'm so sorry that I cannot be on this evening with you guys, but I would love to have you guys back again on the panel. This was a very, very interesting conversation. I think there's a lot more information that is needed, and persons are eager to know a lot more about this information. And I don't know if I can ask you guys to come back again on the next Gigi show. It's so many cases that us know, but I want to say a big thank you to each and every one for those who have been commenting in the comment section.
Yes.
For those who are on Caribbean Power Jam Radio and all the other radio stations, WFFR and Praise 592. I want to say a big thank you on behalf of myself and my team. This is Gigi. I want to say have a good night, and please do come again. We're going to be calling you so that we can be able to bring you back onto the panel again. Have yourself a good night. Thank you.
All right. That was the lady herself, Miss G. George. So I mean, listen,
right.
I DJ Quinn is the host. I'm Gigi's co-host, but DJ Quinn is hosting tonight. But our comments section is lit. We were supposed to do a call-in segment. We never got to that, and the people are firing us up in the comment section. Listen, guys, Dr. Todd, Mr. Daniels, Ronnie, Miss Simon. Listen, I'm gonna be reaching out to you guys. We're gonna be calling you because we have to give the people a chance. Mr. Benjamin, a chance to ask their questions. And unfortunately, tonight it was such a powerful information packed session that we never got to our main people, because without our audience, the Gigi Show is nothing. And I always say that I appreciate our listeners, our viewers. You guys do us justice. Without you guys, we're nothing, So I'm gonna reach out to you guys and see when we can coordinate this again. Dr. Todd, Ronald, Ronnie, Miss Simon, I had so many things to ask you, girl. I never got to ask you none of it. Listen, DJ Quinn, over to you. Wrap this up, my friend.
I'm telling you guys, we got to wrap it up tonight. We didn't solve everything, right? We didn't solve everything, but we started out something powerful, right? A conversation rooted in truth, platform grounded in love, and a mission focused on change. Let me leave you with this. Do the work the right way the first time, because lives depend on it. And remember, don't just demand accountability. We also promote training, growth, and transformation, because when officers are empowered with de-escalation skills, mental health awareness, compassion, and discipline, we don't just build better policing, we build better communities. So thank you all for coming on in. And on behalf of Gigi George and the crew, please come back and join us right here in the Gigi Show. See you next time.
Thank you,
everybody.
Yeah, 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 yeah.